Guys, welcome to another edition of Great Living the Run right here Wednesdays, each and every Wednesday, 6 to 7 p.m. I'm Rex Stevens with the great Paul Tera, and starting off this show with a bang, we are starting it with, we used to call her roller derby participant, radio host, baseball announcer. Now we can call her triathlete. CJ Silas finishing her first triathlon. CJ, we talked about it. We talked about it last week. You got all jazzed when we used Mr. Phillips, his acronym of FEAR, feeling excited and ready. How the heck did it go out there in your first triathlon?
Well, first of all, I really appreciated that because it's exactly what I needed. It was the day before and kind of going into it that morning, I had the butterflies and the anxiety in my tummy, which we all get as athletes when we're doing something competitive or something for the first time. But I didn't realize how nervous I was going to be because it was so out of my comfort zone to do these things, 3 different events, not really sure how much output to give to each one because I've never done it before. And the feeling excited and ready really helped, and I appreciate that. So thank you. And I'm done, and I don't ever have to do another one again.
Box checked.
Box checked. But, that wasn't the sentiment that you put out there. Sounded like maybe you got the juices going. A nice 4th-place finish, which is something that I've never seen in a triathlon to come close to. You put the numbers up there. You did pretty darn well. There's some inklings that you may enter another one, is there not?
Honestly, Rex, it was invigorating, energizing, challenging. I had a lot of fun, but I don't know if I'll be doing it again. I just don't like to swim and ride my bike that much. It was a lot, and I talked about this a little bit in a blog that I wrote last week, that it's really an individual sport. You're alone doing a lot of that training. Even if you're riding with someone on a bike, they're in front of you or behind you. Even when you're swimming and they're in a lane next to you, you're not having that camaraderie. The only time you can really train with anyone for a triathlon is running. And I'm more of a team sport person, and I've done team triathlons before, and I've always done the running portion. But to do it alone and to do it by myself, that was way too much time with me in my own head.
See, I like her mentality. You know what? I wanted to do this. I trained for it. I did it. Whatever success I had or didn't have is who cares? I've done it. My box is checked, and I'm moving on to something else.
CJ, say this. We do tips and takeaways at the end of each and every show. But why not start with one? What is your takeaway from the training, from the race, from the experience?
The toughest thing for me, I had to go to the bathroom during the swim. So I had to decide, because what happened is it started about 20 minutes late, and I drink a lot of water. I believe in hydration. I mean, obviously it's important as an athlete to do that all the time. Well, I kind of planned it, and I didn't get in the pool until 20 minutes later than I expected. So by the time I got out of the pool to get on my bike, I had to go to the bathroom. And I thought, well, I got to get through the bike because there are 3 women that are right behind me, and I need to keep moving, but I know there's no way I'm going to be able to go to the bathroom, be able to run without going to the bathroom. So I came in off the bike, and I ran over to the security guard, and I'm like, hey, dude, hold my bike for me. I got to pee. And I jumped into the outhouse, and I took my bike back to my spot in the transition area after, and then I got in my running shoes, and I went on. And I think that was a hard part for me because I didn't want to stop, but I knew that my run would be really uncomfortable if I didn't go to the bathroom. And it may sound silly, but I think as athletes, we go through that. And I hear that football players pee themselves, hockey players pee themselves. There was no way I was going to pee down my leg and run 3 miles in a triathlon. So I chose to stop and go to the bathroom. And that's kind of the most significant memory is that. And then my shoelace untied at like 1.5 miles on the run. And I decided not to tie it because I didn't want to mess with my rhythm because I had a really good rhythm going on my run. I guess I saved enough to kind of still run fast. And so I just ran with the shoe untied, and I kept saying to myself, as long as the shoe doesn't come off, the laces aren't long enough to stand on and trip myself. So I'm just going to run through. And I did. And it was so amazing to be around those people and to train for something for 7 months and put your mind to it and really work hard for something. But I'm a teamer, and I'm going to be really happy to go back to my CrossFit box and just have that to consider and go back to roller derby. I like triathlons. I totally respect people that do them. Mine was a really short one, but it's unbelievable what you have to put into it to do it and do it successfully.
Yeah, I bet looking back though, CJ, you wish you would have not went to the bathroom and then got into the run, and then you could have just went to the bathroom when your shoe came untied. And you could have bent down to tie it then and solved two problems at once.
Paul Tarek, I'm not surprised that would come out of you.
Yeah,
I had to pee, Paul.
I got to think, you're in the pool, you got to pee, you're coming out of the pool, you're dripping wet. There's no way anyone knows if you're peeing as you're going to the transition area. I really think you need to do a second triathlon just so if the scenario shows up again, you don't waste that time in transition. Triathletes are pulling out their hair listening to this. That you wasted
leaving
precious
valuable time on the
that
course.
Could have been a podium finish, top 3, had we not run into bladder issues.
And I was only less than a minute behind the woman who came in third.
And what's up with you females and the bladder issues?
It's like a road trip or something. You're like, I gotta stop.
CJ, it's awesome stuff. You hit on a couple big things. Thanks for sharing it with us. And the biggest thing I'm taking away from what you just said is continue to do what you love. Go out of your comfort zone, feel good about that, and feel like you can check off, but go back to the things that resonate with your spirit that you love to do, and keep doing it. If it's team for you, keep it up. You're a rocking athlete and an inspiration to so many. Thanks so much.
Thank you, and I'm going to come out and work out with you on a Wednesday now that I have some free time.
Good stuff. We're waiting for you. Have fun at the Blues game tonight.
All right, thanks.
CJ Silas, don't forget her show, 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock. On Thursday nights. I mean, she does hit it right on the head, Paul. Do stuff that you love. I dig that she says that, and just go right back to it. Don't feel bad about it. Hey, I'm a roller derby player. Hey, I'm a team sport athlete. That's what I do. That's what I like. That's what I'm going to keep doing.
Yeah, it's always good. I mean, it is always good to get out there and do things that you're not familiar with, do things outside of your comfort zone. But I think a lot of people try to spend their whole life outside of their comfort zone trying to teach themselves something. When it's like, dude, just get out there, see it a little bit, and then get back to where you're comfortable doing what you're passionate about, because you're gonna have more success, and you're gonna get along further, fitness-wise, anyways, doing things that you enjoy doing. Yeah,
we added a new segment here to Living the Run a couple weeks ago, and that was our book of the week. And our first one that started that off was How Starbucks Saved My Life, right? And How Starbucks Saved My Life was such an interesting read, but it hits on those exact points. Is the idea that getting out of your comfort zone. And interestingly enough, that author, who was this big ad agency guy, he was a big seller, he was top guy, he got into that coffee business a little bit. He was out of his comfort zone, but sure enough, what happened after time? The guy actually goes back to his strength at Starbucks. He starts being the guy who does teaching volunteer sessions where you can come in, learn about coffee, learn about some of the aspects of where it's grown and so forth. Then he writes a book on all this type of stuff, and he just goes back to the things that made him great in the first place. Dig that a lot. But our book of the week here,
now
man.
You're really up my speed here.
You kind of said it after we did the first book. You said, man, if you could get into the kids' books, maybe not such that longevity that comes with some of those novels, you would be better off. So I brought one this week by one of my favorite groups of books, and these are called the Mr. Men books. Any of you guys who got kids at home, you got the Mr. Men books. There's 47 of them. And I dig these books a lot, but it went to that concept of fear, and this is one of them. It's number 15. It's called Mr. Jelly. And Mr. Jelly is this hilarious guy, and really, the guy is scared of everything. And Mr. Jelly, every single thing that happens, it freaks him out. He gets scared to the point where a leaf falls on the ground. It makes a little crackle, and he thinks the whole world is about to fall apart in an earthquake. And, we talked about fear last week, and, that false evidence assumed real is really what the acronym kind of sounds like. And it is just that. It is oftentimes we don't equip ourselves with the knowledge, the resources, the so forth. And so we actually fear things, and we won't go out of our comfort zone because we won't get ourselves educated enough or engrossed enough in something to avoid those fears. Fun book. And let me just say this. One of my favorite things about this book is the guy, every time something goes bad, he uses the term calamity. So he'll say, oh, calamity. And he just goes through this whole deal. Well, my youngest son got all frustrated the other day. in the kitchen, and he goes, "Oh, calamity." And I was cracking up because it's not the common word. Obviously, English books, but brilliant stuff. Mr. Jelly, if you haven't read the Mr. Men books, a little bit that we could learn about fear from this book.
I'm just perusing through the end of it here. And this is a book that I would read. The duration of the book is something I can grasp and something I'm willing to commit to. But I love the last picture in the book. And throughout the whole book, he's got this worried look kind of on his face, and he's all squiggly lined, really implying that he's anxious. And then the last part of the book, he's all giant smile on his face. And after that moment, Mr. Jelly became a changed man. and he's just hanging out in his easy chair, arms behind his head, legs crossed. No more squiggly lines around him because he's smooth as silk.
Well, it's the idea, right? We can change. We have the ability to change. We can get rid of some of these fears, some of these stresses. You made me think of Rocky IV, right? Remember U.S. versus Russia, where he looks out at the crowd. It's a fairly cheesy line. Rocky I was so good with its writing. It got worse as things went. But remember he bounces around, looks at all the Russian crowd, and says, "If I can change, and you can change, we all can change." You get this big crowd out of the Russians, and it's so goofy. And we're all supposed to get excited. But, sometimes you can learn from these littlest of books. I'm going to bring in another great read for you next week, Paul Tarek. Another book right up your alley, a little longer than this, but much the same. Most of the page is filled up with pictures. We can learn about fear from this book.
Does it involve a man with a yellow hat?
It does not.
Oh.
But we can learn a lot from Curious George as well. Man, I'm excited about the rest of the show. Scott Dubrul, chiropractor, Ultrarunner coming in, Tera, Dube as well. And, we've had both of them on the show before, and they both got to participate in that kind of granddaddy of them all, the Western States 100 this last weekend. And I think it's going to be super fun. We've never had anything like this, Paul, where two of them were on the course together, but they actually had a couple of times where they exchanged, one going in front of the other and then one passing, and just to be able to talk about some of that camaraderie, because so oftentimes we've talked about the alone time, and even CJ just referenced it, the alone time out on those races where you may not see somebody for miles and what that means to you and how to mentally get through it. Kind of going to be an interesting thing to talk about their connection on the course and watching each other suffer a little bit and trying to encourage.
Maybe using the motivation, or using the other person's suffering for motivation. Who knows? We'll find out what path they took.
Yeah, excited about that. So we're going to have Scott and Tara in just a few moments, and then Matt Smith. Don't forget Matt Smith, chiropractor and a movement specialist out in Austin, Texas, working a lot with the athletes there at the University of Texas. Again, we're just going through an assessment series, guys. This has been a lot of fun for us. We started at the ankle. We went to the knee. We went to the hip. We're going to go into the spine a little bit, that low back spine that gives so many people trouble in today's sedentary environment. And, it's kind of amazing. Some of this stuff is so common sense. We pull out some research papers and so forth, but it doesn't take people too much to figure the simplest of things out. Think about 4th of July. People are going to be out. They're going to be traveling. And you always just ask the simplest question. When you drive for 6, or I just saw your buddy Frank, when you drive for 7 hours to Tahoe and you get out of the car, do you feel more energy or less energy than when you go run around at the park or hike up a mountain that day?
Yeah.
And it's obvious, right?
Yeah, more energy when you get out of the car after you stopped at every gas station along the way, eating pork rinds.
The energy's brutal. When you sit for long periods of time, it just is so life zapping. And I think people are starting to figure it out. And again, we don't need to spend lots of money on research for this. We should be able to have our own perceptions and be able to get through this thing pretty good.
Yeah, we talked a lot about low back pains a long time ago, and one of the things that I think that a lot of people don't take from it still is they still look at it like it's a back issue and not looking at it like, well, let's look at core strength, let's look at your ab muscles, and let's look at the supporting cast of muscles, because when you start to train those muscle groups, back issues will take care of themselves, 90% of the time, provided you don't have some structural issue. Just get your core strong, and usually whatever issues you were having in your back is usually gone.
Yeah, no question. I saw a guy today who was a former soccer player, and so many of his back issues just stem from poor ankle movement. He sprained his ankles lots and lots of times playing soccer at the college level and then a little pro level. And now you start getting bone spurs in your ankle. You start losing ankle mobility. And like we talked about ankle in relation to knee and ACL injuries a couple weeks ago, the ankle in relation to spine, in relation to core. And when you start losing mobility at certain joints, you got to go up the chain and start to see where those things can cause dynamic problems down the road, and be willing to start to address some of that stuff. And like you said, so many people's back pain really isn't necessarily about their back at all. It's not because they've been in some trauma, motor vehicle accident, what have you. It's either they've gotten themselves too sedentary or they have an issue upstream or downstream that they haven't been addressing, so they're compensating in the back. So always something that we want to try to hit on. Matt Smith, we'll do that with him later in the show.
Yeah, we were over in Austria. I think I've told you this before. We learned a new term. They called it anatomy trains, and it's just a different way that they look at the muscles in the body. And that was, kind of my eye-opener to a lot of this was I was having problems in my hip and problems in my lower back and problems in my hamstring, more so my hip and my hamstring that were bothering me. And the guy working on me at the time was one of the Czech Republic guys. They go to school differently over there. It's not an issue of like treat the symptom. It's an issue of, well, let's straighten everything out. And that's what I liked about you when I met you was, solving the problems from the beginning. Well, I don't really know what's going on with you now, but let's find out structurally or alignment-wise what's not right. Let's fix that, and then let's talk about what is still sticking around. And that was kind of how they were. It was, let's look at these muscle groups. All these muscles are in the same sheet. Let's look at all these muscles. If you're having problems over here, make sure everything else is loose. And then if we know everything else is loose and you're lined up and you're functionally, you're functional, your joints are all functional and moving through the proper range of motion, then let's experience or look closer at the issues that you're having. And both times that I've had severe issues in hamstring and hip, it turned out to be either a hip problem or a something up in my back that may have been a little out of alignment. And whatever problem I was having that might have been bothering me for 2, 3, 4 weeks was gone.
Yeah, no question about it. Love that approach. Love the functional approach, not the cover-up approach. And that's what we're trying to do here on Living the Run. Prevention and not reaction. 22 after the hour, guys. We got Scott Dubrul, Tera Dube, Ultrarunners just finished Western States. What a grueler. In studio together. You're not going to want to miss this right here on Living the Run next.
You're listening to Living the Run on ESPN Radio 1280 The Ticket.
Hey guys, Paul Tera from Living the Run here. As a former Olympian, there is only one place myself and fellow athletes go when it comes to chiropractic care on the Central Coast. With 4 chiropractors in the clinic, Slow Wellness Center is the largest, most comprehensive group of docs in San Luis Obispo County. I began seeing Dr. Rex Stevens back in 2005 for spinal adjustments to help maximize my performance, minimize my injury, and allow me to compete at my best. When the difference between a win and a loss can be just a fraction of an inch, perfect alignment in all joints is essential. One of the great things about the team at Slow Wellness is no matter where I had an issue, whether it was my spine, my foot, knee, wrist, or shoulder, they were always able to help. This team, made up of Dr. Rex and Molly Stevens, Dr. Sachs, and Dr. Bandolo, is sure to help you reach your health and fitness goals too. If it's chiropractic care you need, go where I go, Slow Wellness Center. Check them out at slowwellness.com or call 543-8688.
Hey everyone, Eric Fiallo here from LeftLaneSports.com. Are you tired of paying full retail on your favorite outdoor and endurance brands? Well, whether you run, bike, swim, hike, climb, or surf, LeftLaneSports.com has got you covered. Save 50 to 70% off retail every day on brands like Under Armour, Asics, New Balance, Timex, Hurley, Patagonia, and more. Visit LeftLaneSports.com and sign up for a free membership. Plus, save on shipping by picking up your order at our headquarters in San Luis Obispo. LeftLaneSports.com. Gear you need, prices you want, service you deserve.
Puma Aquatics team offers year-round swim programming for novice, recreational, and competitive swimmers. For 16 years, Puma has developed some of the fastest swimmers on the Central Coast, as well as the nation. Puma has 3 convenient locations to choose from, providing programming for all of San Luis Obispo County. Puma offers swim assessments for new swimmers on Tuesdays and Thursdays at the SLO Kennedy Club, Atascadero Kennedy Club, and Arroyo Grande High School. For more information about Puma Aquatics, check out pumaswim.org. Join the Puma Pride and challenge yourself to reach new levels in your swimming. Puma Aquatics, where pride, passion, and persistence pay off.
Arts Cyclery wants to invite everyone to join the celebration. Arts has just been voted the best bike shop in San Luis Obispo County for the 22nd year in a row. To celebrate, Arts has great pricing across the whole store and specials like free gloves with any Castelli jersey or short purchase, free laser sunglasses with the purchase of any laser helmet, plus so much more. So come down to Art Cyclery at 181 Suburban Road and celebrate with great service, massive selection, and prices that will not be beat. Offers good while supplies last.
Did you know that many people endure aches and pains in their feet, legs, and back, but few recognize the solution for some of the more common causes are as simple as a more supportive and comfortable insole? At Cadence Insoles, we understand the insole in your shoe provides the first line of support and comfort for your feet. Designed by physical therapists and recommended by podiatrists, Cadence Insoles provide the elusive combination of orthotic support with the shock-absorbing comfort of an insole. A local business? Visit cadenceinsoles.com for more information. Cadence Insoles, support made comfortable.
We're back with Living the Run.
Welcome back to Living the Run. You guys can find us each and every week here Wednesday nights at 6 to 7. The host, Rex Stevens, Olympian Paul Tera in, and stoked to be in. First time, we were just saying this, in the last segment, first time having two competitors in a race of like this type of magnitude, where often times things get spread out a bit out there, and we talk often about being alone out on the course and something like the Western States 100. But you guys had a chance to pass one another, and then a couple of times. So you got to see each other out on the course a couple of times. Kind of a unique scenario. First of all, congratulations to both of you guys, Tera Dube, Scott Dubrul, in studio with us. Talk a little bit about this experience. I think with the two of you out on the course like that and having some of these interactions, seeing one another through some of the suffering, different scenario in both cases, something that you don't always get that experience because you disappear from one another and often don't see each other again to the finish. Talk about what it meant to you guys to have each other out on the course.
Well, it's wonderful. I mean, we're training partners, and there's actually other people out there that we also know that we're along the way. And so it's nice when you run into somebody to really motivate you and get you going. Unfortunately, where Scott ran into me the first time, I was actually laying on a cot at what's Devil's Thumb? Devil's Thumb is 47.8.
Look, Tera, people that have listened to you before are starting to get used to this a little bit. These times where you're coming through and something kind of implodes, but you always seem to battle back. Scott, you walk up or run up and see her on a cot. First thought.
I get up and I didn't see her right away. So what happened was I'd come up and I tell them, 167. I'm dying. I'm getting on the top. And they go, "Are you Scott?" And I go, "Yeah. Tera's over here in the medical." And I'm like, "Oh, what?" So I walk over and she's all covered up in these blankets and her face is all drawn. And I'm like, "Oh, no, what's going on?" So she told me what had been happening. I sat down for a second and was talking to her. She goes, "Tell Eric, when you see him, just go with you, keep going." And then I go, "Oh, man, I gotta get up." And right when I stood up, my quad started cramping. And then I thought, I was just hoping that she was able to pull out of it. And so I just kind of moved forward because I wasn't feeling too good myself at that point.
Tera, talk about that. You take us through some of this because you dealt with some stuff that was a little rough, from altitude to hyponatremia, some stuff that can really thrash your energy levels, your metabolism, make you not feel too good. I imagine there was a point where you thought you might not finish.
Oh, God. A lot. A lot of points. It was a rough day. I mean, Western States, for people that have run it, know and hear about how difficult many of the sections are. And so they talk about, well, when you're at the beginning in the high country, you really have to be careful with just taking care of yourself, not going too hard, because everybody feels great at the beginning. And so I thought, okay, I'm taking care of myself, but we're up an altitude of 8,000 feet I think they say it's like at least over 6,000 feet for the first 30 miles. And for me, I go back and forth with being okay in altitude and not, and unfortunately this was one of those days where it did not work for me. Sometimes I can shake it, and usually after Robinson Flat, which is mile 30, you start descending pretty quickly, and I thought I'll just get through this. The dizziness will go away, but it didn't. And so when Scott saw me, that was at the apex of my nausea and dizziness. And, we just come up this huge climb, which is really long. It takes like 50 minutes or more, an hour. I mean, it probably took me an hour this time because I was not doing well. I was weaving up the trail. So laying there, I knew Scott was coming in, and then our plans were all mixed up because my husband is actually pacing for Scott and then expecting me to come through the next aid station first. So things got all mixed up, and so that's on my mind.
Hey, Ultrarunners, Tera, Dube, Scott Dubrul in studio. I got to say, Eric made me look terrible last week. Remember, we go, well, it sounds like Eric's going to be pacing Scott for about 40 miles. I did a pace for a guy 4 miles in a marathon, and I'm thinking, 1/10. 10% of what this guy's going to do. He's going to go pace somebody for 40 miles.
Yeah, you put in 40 miles and you think you just want to finish it. It's like you're already pot committed at that point.
Holy smokes. Scott, so here's the thing. I heard that Tera then got going again and caught up to you.
Yeah.
So you're seeing her look devastated.
Yeah.
Debilitated. Now all of a sudden she's passing you. What were you thinking about yourself at that point?
Honestly, I was happy I continued to move forward. And so when I got there and then I heard, oh, Tera's on the course again. I said, oh, great. I'm glad she's, oh man, I was really relieved. And so then I kind of heard her voice. I'm like, God, did she already catch up? Thought I could put a little more time on. Well, then we get into the one section where there's a lot more runnable part of the course, and that she's a much faster runner than I am. So she catches, passes, we give a hug, high five, go, and she's gone. I figure, well, good, she's gone. And so I'm just on my mode of and at that point I was running still, but I was really struggling with the running because my quads were cramping, my hams, everything was cramping the lower body. And then we get to the first aid station of that portion of the course, and I just do my thing. And the second one, we roll up, and she's there. And I'm like, oh, no, she must not be doing that good again. And she said, oh, I'm dizzy. And Eric's like, consistency, keep consistent. Dusty, keep her consistent, keep her going. And then I think we were gone at that point.
And I never saw you again.
And then we never saw again.
Yeah, interesting. I'm thinking about goals. We've talked about that with a couple guys that were in here not long ago with regards to goals going into a race, and then when things start to unravel a little bit. Do you have the conscience to change your goal? I mean, especially, I guess, you, Tera, because you went in with definitely a faster goal, a kind of a placement idea. You had been going along in a pretty good position for the first part of the race. So you're hey, I'm meeting goals, I'm hitting them. Then the goals start to become obvious that they're not going to be reached. Do you consciously shift there and now make new goals?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you're wise, you go into it with several goals. So when those top ones don't work out, you got another one to fall into.
Almost like plan C and D.
Yeah. Except I didn't have plan D. But anyways, my first goal was, I really wanted a certain time estimate. I wanted a certain place. When all those started falling apart, it was like, okay, well, I think I can still go sub 24. So even when I left the aid station where I was feeling miserable, it took me about, 45 minutes. They don't even know how long I was there. I miraculously felt 100 times better. Like maybe I felt too good because then I was like, I got to go catch up to Scott. This will be really cool to go run with Scott. And I was looking at my watch going, I can do this. I can go sub 24. Like Scott can go sub 24. We are on pace. So I think I ran too hard. And then it came back to haunt me. Yeah. And so
when you passed him, see, that's when you should have got to him and then settled in. You can always adjust your goals down in a race, but once you've moved them down, you never slide them back up, because it's never going to pan out well.
Scott, how about for you? We talked briefly last week about trying to go sub 24. At some point, you start to see the time, you start to see the distance and say, I'm probably not going to get there. How do you shift your mentality at that point?
You'd asked me, you'd mentioned last time we talked, you'd said, in a marathon, they say if you're at 10 miles, you're not feeling good, it's not going to be a good day. Well, it was about 16 miles, and my back had started bothering me a bit, and I started getting some spasms in the legs, and at that point, I was like, this might be tough. But I got through to 30 at the time for 24. So then I was still thinking, I can do this. I think I can still do this. So as I pushed through, I can't remember the exact time. I think it was at Forest Hill at 62 where I was like, I better think about this a little, because I want to finish. And so that's when my second tier goal was beat my time from the last time.
Which you did.
Which I did. And within that goal was also have it be the fastest 100 I've ever done, which it was.
Oh.
So I kind of met my second tier goal. My third tier goal was just to finish the darn thing in under 30 hours, the time frame they gave me. And so I just kept moving ahead and dealt with all the issues I had. And
I like this. Again, talking to Tera, Dube, Scott Dubrul here on Living the Run on ESPN 1280 The Ticket. We just talked to CJ Silas, just did her first triathlon. She finished the triathlon. She got out of her comfort zone, took on something that she hadn't done, and she walked away all with positive sentiments, but walked away saying, I don't think the triathlon is for me. I'm a team athlete. I like team sports, and I'm going to stick with team sports. Is there a thought by either of you after doing this now a few times that the 100 distance is not necessarily the race for you and you want to try something else where you say, hey, you know what, I was a pretty good marathoner, or I was a pretty good 50 type athlete? Because I know, Tera, you've had some success in the 50s as well. Scott, you've run fast marathons in the past as well, 3-hour guy or maybe sub 3 hour right in there.
3:06.
Yeah, which is fast. You guys ever think that way, or is it still, hey, I'm committed to the hundreds? That's just what happens in the hundreds. Sometimes stuff goes goofy and awry.
Yeah, the hundreds is complicated because you can't just run one and have a bad day and go, oh, well, I'll just go do another one in a month. There's so much preparation that we both go through. And I tell you, when I'm out there and having a bad day in 100, I vow to never, ever do this again. But once I finished and just was so satisfied with just finishing and doing that for my team and everybody who was out there and myself, I just said, I can't let this get me. I got to try it again. So I'll definitely be back.
That's got to be like an emotional roller coaster, During the middle of the race, you're amped up to do it. Things don't go right. Then you're swearing them off. I swear I'm never starting another one of these. Then 50 miles later, it's like, I'm delirious enough. I should probably get my entry form in now, get myself paid for, because now I'm committed, and then go on to the next one.
Yeah, it's like, don't go to the grocery store hungry, right? Because it's not the best time making decisions. Don't make your decisions about the next race right after you finished one and you're thinking about give yourself a little bit of time. How about for you, Scott?
I like the distance. I mean, I just like doing things. So for me, it's never really been as much of a time goal element. I enjoy getting out there. I enjoy pushing my body to those limits, and more my lovely wife would love for me not to do any more hundreds, and they are on the table at least for another year, probably a little longer. But I love the 50. What I love is the camaraderie of the group of folks that I've met and trained with, and just to be able to go out and do those distances. I don't think there's any way on earth I could come back and run a 3-hour marathon anymore. Maybe, I guess, if I put the training in. But every time I start trying to run fast, I realize I don't really like doing it anymore. So
Yeah, and you stick with what you like. And that's more the question is and as CJ said, stick with what you like. We've been trying to promote that on this show forever. There's a million ways to get yourself active, but don't be doing things that you don't really like to do. I always think, though, after you've participated in a big event, do you reevaluate and say, hey, maybe this isn't my favorite, what have you. It sounds like it's right in your alley. And I think it is too, Scott. You left me a text message with your time and says, I left it out there. And that's all you can ask is did I give it my all? Did I leave it out there? It's the Vince Lombardi classic lines. And the reality is you do that when you like what you're doing. You don't leave it all out there in anything when you don't like what the heck you're doing. True?
You may not be able to. I was just thinking, you may not be able to run a 3-hour marathon anymore. He could put 4 or 5 hour marathons together though without skipping a beat though.
Yeah, and he'd still be way faster than you. So
that's what I'm saying. He could run. He just said I can't peel off a 3 hour marathon. I was like, yeah, but you could run 4 or 5 hour ones back to back, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think Scott would have like a power hiking record in the marathon. he put an hour and a half on me, and we were both walking when he passed me. So that goes to show, man, that guy's strong.
On flat ground, maybe race walking. Maybe that's an unturned stone.
Yeah.
Maybe
I don't know what race, that race walking looks a little goofy. I'm not sure I'd want to do that.
Maybe you'll find out that
you thought you had back problems from this, man. That's a back problem nightmare.
Hips, I think, right?
Yeah, hip replacements. Here we come. Hey, guys, so what's on the schedule? Again, thanks so much for coming in. You guys inspire a ton of people, and I tell you, it's inspiration in how positive you are after the races. You show goals. You show the possibility of putting in more than one goal so that when you miss one, it's no big deal. I hit the next. And then you also show the resilience that says, hey, look, this is me. This drives me, both from an individual but the team. And you guys together as a team, tremendous. But because you said we're going to do more, what's on the calendar?
Well, I never put anything on the calendar before a big event like that. But like I said, I think there are better hundreds than me left, so I'd like to attempt another one this year, and I think it's going to be Rio del Lago. But
where is that?
It's up in Sacramento. It's a flatter one, and there's no altitude, so I'm going to give that a go.
Safe to say that will knock out at least some of your symptoms that you experienced.
Right, and then I can say, am I really, really bad at this? No excuses.
Yeah. No one would ever say that you're bad at this.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Paul Terek, if he tried, they might say he's bad at it. But
no, they wouldn't have to try to tell him I'm bad. They'd watch me walk to the start line and be like, yeah, that guy's not going to make it.
Yeah, he's not going to make it.
What about you, Scott? What do you got on the calendar?
I have nothing on the calendar. And it, my wife just did. I got a shout out to Julie. She just did such a fantastic job of crewing me and just keeping everybody in the loop. And it's hard on her for all my training and the kids. So, so this summer, the rest of this summer is just I'm going to get some runs in, and I probably I don't know that I'll do anything else this year, and then I'll look next year and see, probably do a couple 50s next year and continue to train and just support Tera.
Yeah,
and
I need you out there
and the folks and because I just love doing that, but right now nothing. So I'm totally more so on the calendar for me is I've kind of lost my my upper body workouts that I was doing for a while, and I need to get back on that. So
burpees, man, burpees.
There you go.
I gotta say, your wife was brilliant. Julie was brilliant putting stuff up online. It was crazy. I woke up at 3 a.m. And rolled over and grabbed my phone and got an update to see where the heck you guys were at. It was wild how much just her little stuff and just this idea that you guys, you inspire that much that it's like we know what the heck is happening and we're just laying there going, what am I doing laying here? These guys are out running, and they've been out there for, it was at 3, so it was nearly 22 hours at that point, and it was exciting to see, even though we knew, there were some struggles. Fun to have that faith. Thanks for inspiring all of us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, good stuff. We'll hear from them more. Thanks so much to Tera Dube and Scott Dubrul, Ultrarunners. Back with more. Matt Smith talking low back. Coming right here on Living the Run.
You're listening to Living the Run on ESPN Radio 1280 The Ticket.
Folks, when it comes to the health of my teeth, I will not compromise, and neither should you. It's time you go where my wife and I go see Dr. Ryan Ross. I get it. Not everyone loves a dentist, and heck, even a few of you out there are scared to death of these offices. Bad past experiences? Well, you ever had a bad haircut? How about a bad meal somewhere? You didn't stop getting your haircut, and you certainly didn't stop eating, so stop ignoring your teeth. Dr. Ross's gentle approach, calming demeanor, and office full of upbeat staff put your dental fears to rest. Conveniently located in a great little house on Marsh Street downtown, Dr. Ross's office exudes the highest level of professionalism, mixed with an atmosphere much like your own home. Look, nobody's in a rush here. It's not a get 'em in, get 'em out atmosphere. Every time I'm in Dr. Ross's office, it's like I'm the only guy that matters. No distractions, just full focus on my oral health. If you're interested in the highest quality in dental care and want to walk out of the office every time with a smile, call Dr. Ryan Ross today, 541-5800.
Hey guys, Paul Tera from Living the Run here. As a former Olympian, there is only one place myself and fellow athletes go when it comes to chiropractic care on the Central Coast. With 4 chiropractors in the clinic, Slow Wellness Center is the largest, most comprehensive group of docs in San Luis Obispo County. I began seeing Dr. Rex Stevens back in 2005 for spinal adjustments to help maximize my performance, minimize my injury, and allow me to compete at my best. When the difference between a win and a loss can be just a fraction of an inch, perfect alignment in all joints is essential. One of the great things about the team at Slow Wellness is no matter where I had an issue, whether it was my spine, my foot, knee, wrist, or shoulder, they were always able to help. This team, made up of Dr. Rex and Molly Stevens, Dr. Sachs, and Dr. Bandolo, is sure to help you reach your health and fitness goals too. If it's chiropractic care you need, go where I go, Slow Wellness Center. Check them out at slowwellness.com or call 543-8688.
Hey everyone, Eric Fiallo here from leftlanesports.com. Are you tired of paying full retail on your favorite outdoor and endurance brands? Well, whether you run, bike, swim, hike, climb, or surf, leftlanesports.com has got you covered. Save 50 to 70% off retail every day on brands like Under Armour, Asics, New Balance, Timex, Hurley, Patagonia, and more. Visit leftlanesports.com and sign up for a free membership. Plus, save on shipping by picking up your order at our headquarters in San Luis Obispo. Leftlanesports.com. Gear you need, prices you want, service you deserve.
Arts Cyclery wants to invite everyone to join the celebration. Arts has just been voted the best bike shop in San Luis Obispo County for the 22nd year in a row. To celebrate, Arts has great pricing across the whole store and specials like free gloves with any Castelli jersey or short purchase, free laser sunglasses with the purchase of any laser helmet, plus so much more. So come down to Arts Cyclery at 181 Suburban Road and celebrate with great service, massive selection, and prices that will not be beat. Offers good while supplies last.
We're back with Living the Run.
And I love those guys. When you start talking 100-mile runs, it's just it's a goofy thing. And Scott just said something to me that I thought was brilliant. Is he said, you could do one of these. You just got to change your mindset on what running is. I think it would be a little easier for me than you because you've been at some pretty explosive, fast speeds, in the Olympic days. But being able to kind of combine some slower running with power walking. Tera kind of talked about how Scott's real good at that. He's a guy that can really power walk up a hill pretty well as just walking for parts of the time and understanding that you're not going to be running a marathon pace or a half marathon pace for 100 miles, especially through 18,000 feet of elevation.
Well, like CJ said, and I really, I go back to this. It's like doing the things you like to do. We always talk about distance running, and I always joke like, I'm never doing it. And it's not because I don't want to run, a marathon. I mean, I don't, but it's not like I won't want to do the distance or put the time in, but it's not something I enjoy doing. When I go out for an easy 40-minute jog or an hour jog or something, it is the most excruciating, mentally exhausting thing for me to just be moving for that amount of time slowly. Like I want to be running. I want to be pushing and lifting the legs, and I want to be moving the arms, and I want to feel explosive while I'm running. So, what I do instead of, getting out, like if all I can do is a 15-minute run at night or down to the end of the block and back, if I have my choice, I can get a 15 or 20-minute run in or whatever. Instead of doing that, I'll take off down the end of my block at, 3/4 to, almost full speed running and see how far I can get running and then jog while I'm recovering. And then as soon as I start to feel good, I'm running fast again. Just trying to get into doing it or at least stay doing the things that I enjoy doing and not trying to force myself to get out there and do a 20 or a 30-minute run at some 8-minute pace or distance pace. So,
yeah, I mean, and again, everybody's body type different. You look at your body type versus there. I mean, Scott's. It'd be interesting to see. I've seen some of the guys that are winning that thing. The guy that won that thing sub 15 hours. I mean, he is running really fast. I think it worked out to be sub 9-minute miles for 100 miles through that kind of stuff, which is pretty ridiculous. But I've seen a lot of those guys pretty long and lean. Tera looks ripped to shreds. She is just lean and fit and, very little body fat. Scott just, he's got a stronger build. He's a little more mesomorphic build. He definitely, if he was a wanted to lift weights. He even talked about a little bit his upper body, you know, where he's noticing because he just looks strong.
Yeah, you wouldn't pick him out of a lineup to be an ultramarathoner.
No, not even close. And so, you know, the one thing is though he's done a phenomenal job of adapting to where he's strong. And it sounds like he gets in those hills. He uses the big leg strength. He uses some of the power that you can tell he innately has in his physique to work. And you got to be willing to work within your physique. And we talk about that a lot on this show is so many people's health limitations are because they're not working within the limits of their own environment, whether that's their own physique, their work environment, their food opportunities and choices. And as soon as you don't assess that properly, man, things can unravel in a hurry.
Yeah, it's just kind of, we talked about before when you set out with a bad plan. You know, if you don't have a good plan, not having a good plan is basically thinking like, hey, you know, I own a 1987 Cavalier. I'm going to try to get this thing in like the Indy 500. You know what I mean? It's just not going to work. Knowing what your tools are, knowing what your limitations are, and then developing a plan inside of that and trying to stay inside of that. You know, go outside of your comfort zone. And everybody's different. It's not like go outside of your comfort zone once a month or once a week. It's just you gauge it, you know, based on how you're feeling on your workouts. I feel like I've been doing this workout a while. Maybe I'm starting to get a little bored, or I'm starting to get a little, you know, maybe distressed or kind of depressed over what I'm doing. I'm gonna do something a little different, you know, and see if maybe I can pick something up from that, and then come back and you know, back into what I enjoy doing and get back on the horse there.
Yeah, you know, people need to do something that I think Scott does really well as well, and that is, you know, he didn't talk about putting anything on the calendar. We talk about putting things on the calendar all the time, but Scott talked about staying motivated. I'm going to still train, as if there is something on the calendar. One of the ways he does it, and Tera, you know, reached out to him and said, "Hey, we need you out there to help us." Is he's grabbed on to that thing we've talked about, community, camaraderie, getting out with other people like we try to do on Wednesdays, is just get with other folks, which keeps you motivated even if something isn't necessarily looming on the calendar, a race or what have you. He's just always prepared for the possibility that says, hey, you know what? I think I do want to enter in a month. I'm ready.
Yeah, I think the difference comes, though, with Scott. He knows he's going to compete again. He already knows I've done my race for the year. I've put my time in this year. Now it's time to spend some time with family. I'm not putting anything on the calendar. We're going to go through the summer, get into the fall, and then he's going to start his training for, like he said, next year, do a couple of 50-milers, maybe another 100. So he already knows that's coming up. You know, the getting things on the calendar is really good for people who don't have anything on the calendar, who are just trying to get back into it, who are saying, yeah, I'm going to do a marathon. I really want to do one. I'm going to do one, but then never actually signing up for one. You know, those are the people that really need to get it on the calendar. A guy like Scott, he's the guy that goes out, gets himself 30 or 40 miles in on a Saturday when, you know, there's nobody around.
Yep. Hey, we'll come back and wrap up the show with Blood Boiler. We got to hit that still, as well as tips and takeaways with 53 after the hour, folks, right here on Living the Run, ESPN 1280 The Ticket. Stick with us.
You're listening to Living the Run on ESPN Radio 1280 The Ticket.
Hey guys, Paul Terrick from Living the Run here. As a former Olympian, there is only one place myself and fellow athletes go when it comes to chiropractic care on the Central Coast. With 4 chiropractors in the clinic, Slow Wellness Center is the largest, most comprehensive group of docs in San Luis Obispo County. I began seeing Dr. Rex Stevens back in 2005 for spinal adjustments to help maximize my performance, minimize my injury, and allow me to compete at my best. When the difference between a win and a loss can be just a fraction of an inch, perfect alignment in all joints is essential. One of the great things about the team at Slow Wellness is no matter where I had an issue, whether it was my spine, my foot, knee, wrist, or shoulder, they were always able to help. This team, made up of Dr. Rex and Molly Stevens, Dr. Sachs, and Dr. Bandolo, is sure to help you reach your health and fitness goals too. If it's chiropractic care you need, go where I go, Slow Wellness Center. Check them out at slowwellness.com or call 543-8688.
Hey everyone, Eric Fiallo here from LeftLaneSports.com. Are you tired of paying full retail on your favorite outdoor and endurance brands? Well, whether you run, bike, swim, hike, climb, or surf, LeftLaneSports.com has got you covered. Save 50 to 70% off retail every day on brands like Under Armour, Asics, New Balance, Timex, Hurley, Patagonia, and more. Visit LeftLaneSports.com and sign up for a free membership. Plus, save on shipping by picking up your order at our headquarters in San Luis Obispo. LeftLaneSports.com. Gear you need, prices you want, service you deserve.
Puma Aquatics team offers year-round swim programming for novice, recreational, and competitive swimmers. For 16 years, Puma has developed some of the fastest swimmers on the Central Coast, as well as the nation. Puma has 3 convenient locations to choose from, providing programming for all of San Luis Obispo County. Puma offers swim assessments for new swimmers on Tuesdays and Thursdays at the SLO Kennedy Club, Atascadero Kennedy Club, and Arroyo Grande High School. For more information about Puma Aquatics, check out pumaswim.org. Join the Puma Pride and challenge yourself to reach new levels in your swimming. Puma Aquatics, where pride, passion, and persistence pay off.
Arts Cyclery wants to invite everyone to join the celebration. Arts has just been voted the best bike shop in San Luis Obispo County for the 22nd year in a row. To celebrate, Arts has great pricing across the whole store and specials like free gloves with any Castelli jersey or short purchase, free laser sunglasses with the purchase of any laser helmet, plus so much more. So come down to Art Cyclery at 181 Suburban Road and celebrate with great service, massive selection, and prices that will not be beat. Offers good while supplies last.
Did you know that many people endure aches and pains in their feet, legs, and back, but few recognize the solution for some of the more common causes are as simple as a more supportive and comfortable insole? At Cadence Insoles, we understand the insole in your shoe provides the first line of support and comfort for your feet. Designed by physical therapists and recommended by podiatrists, Cadence insoles provide the elusive combination of orthotic support with the shock-absorbing comfort of an insole. A local business? Visit cadenceinsoles.com for more information. Cadence Insoles. Support made comfortable.
We're back with Living the Run.
Hey, welcome back to Living the Run. Rex Stevens, Paul Tera, wrapping up the show. Blood Boiler always brought to you by Art Cyclery at artcyclery.com. What'd you do to get your blood to boil today?
Today, what'd I do to get my blood to boil? I hung out with my kid this morning.
Hey, that gets your blood to boil.
He was a ball of energy. It was so awesome. So today I have not done anything for my blood boiler because I've been a little under the weather today. Yesterday's blood boiler was exactly what we just talked about. Getting out, I didn't have much time to get out of the house, and instead of a slow exercise, it was a just almost segment runs where I was picking blocks, and it was like a sprint, like really good, running form between blocks, then jog for the next block, then sprint again. And I got 10 of those in, and then when I got home, I sat down with my son on the floor and we stretched. So I'm trying to teach him about stretching and flexibility so that he's not like his old man.
Hey, I got my 100 burpees in today. It was kind of a goofball thing. I wasn't able to get out there on the normal Wednesday workout. But, a couple things I thought. One of the ways to get the blood to boil is just move more. So many people don't. Don't go in the car if you don't have to. We walked down. I had a meeting. We walked to the meeting at least. And sometimes it's the simplest of things. And although that's not a intense blood boiler, it is getting blood to move more than it would have if you get in a car. So sometimes it's just a simple strategy. Speaking of flexibility, my sons are super excited about trying to become goalies in hockey. That's their thing right now. And so they're constantly working on the splits.
Oh, yeah.
And so working on that flexibility, working on the splits. Tips and takeaways from tonight's show.
Tips and takeaways for tonight's show. I'm gonna steal the good one, sorry, and that is having multiple sets of goals when you attack something. Being able to adjust your goals on the fly and not judge yourself while you're doing it. Everybody enters a race or a competition with the best of intentions. Nobody goes in wanting to finish second or wanting to, I want to just do almost as good as I might have done 3 months ago. Everybody goes in with it, I want to win, or I want to get my best, or I want to do this time or finish in this place. And when you have certain check marks along the way and that's not happening, it's kind of like life. You don't just say, I wasn't a millionaire by the time I'm 30, I'm going to be homeless now, right? You adjust your goals. I'm not going to run as fast as I thought I was, and maybe I need to move my pace a little bit and make a little adaptation. So having goals and adapting when necessary.
Hey, 6-time national champion now. 6-time national champion Sharon Day on next week with us. Just won the U.S. Nationals. My tip and takeaway, do what you like from CJ Silas and stick with it. Thanks to Scott Dubrul, Tera, Dube, phenomenal Ultrarunners, folks. Live healthy, live bold, live the run.